Now?
Yep,
Sharing to live stream.
that's awesome. Okay. So Kyle, are you ready to hit ground running?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Sounds good. Great. So hi, everyone. Just as an introduction quickly, my name is Kyle Gallatin. I'm currently a machine learning infrastructure engineer at the company Etsy. I'm a previous alumni of NYC Data Science Academy, and this is going to be a walkthrough of how to deploy your machine learning app on AWS with zero best practices. For those who would like to follow along using the app that I've built, I will both share it on the chat and I will start sharing my screen. Do I have permissions to share my screen? Oh, I do. Cool. Great. Oh, 1 second. I just need to get my permissions.
Jean, would you mind give Kyle the host?
I think it's just my on my computer. I need to make a quick change just to give Zoom preferences. 1 sec.
Okay, you're the host now.
Great. 1 sec. I just need to restart Zoom. All right. And I'm back and able to share. Apologies for the technical difficulty. Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
No, it's black.
Yeah, we can't see it.
Cannot see it. Okay.
You can see your cursor.
All right, you see my cursor, but nothing else. How inconvenient. Same thing?
Same thing, just cursor.
So weird. Has anyone ever had this issue before?
I don't think so.
Are you sharing your desktop or just an application?
I'm sharing the desktop. I wonder if I can just share. Let's see what happens if I try and share the other desktop instead.
Your cursor has gotten bigger somehow.
That's helpful. All right, let me try sharing this first screen here. So still no kind of good.
No, it's.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Zoom website to see what the issue could be, and they're saying that you need to change your network connection settings to TCP.
Again,
apparently it's an issue with Mac OS.
Yeah, I'm on the latest edition, so it's good we're discovering this now.
I'll share the.
Is your presentation a PDF or PowerPoint?
It's going to be a bunch of different things. I was going to share the whole desktop. If need be, I think I do have a second. Aha. Alright. I changed the preferences to TCP. Still nothing?
Nope.
Still black, but can't see a cursor.
Okay. It's making this worse and worse.
Maybe you want to try relaunching Zoom?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think I have a second computer over there, and if that's charged, I will just try and crack it open on that. Apologies for the delay. I'm gonna try leaving and getting it one more time because this computer's not working either. Oh man. Assume I'm still no good here, huh?
Black screen with only the cursor.
That's crazy. I even tried to, I'm even updating Zoom. All right, I've reinstalled Zoom to no avail. Let's see what else I can do.
Could maybe this is a crazy idea, but maybe somebody else tries to share their screen and see if it just it's a problem with the call or it's a problem with you.
Yeah, that's one idea. Let's see. I have my other computer coming up here, so hopefully that. Let me mute.
Yeah, it's working now.
Work.
New computer. Let me.
All right. So let's get started here. Thanks everyone for bearing with me. You can now see my screen, so I can start from the beginning here. I guess the good news about this is you're going to see an entirely fresh version of whatever I'm doing, since I don't have any of the applications up on this computer already, but that should be fine. Cool. So let's start by, if you're already, I believe I shared in the chat the my GitHub, which has a small machine learning application that you can run locally, and that's where we're going to get started. It's right here. I called it FastBad ML. But what this basically is a small machine learning application that you can make requests to via HTTP. So what I did, just for the purposes of the actual machine learning context behind this, is I essentially generated a fake data set with scikit-learn, because the point of this is not the machine learning model, but the API itself. And I just fit a simple logistic regression model and then serialized it and dumped it out to a pickle. And then what I did is I created a small application with fast API to actually make requests to this service. So you can do this with any simple Python API and web server. Popular ones that you might have heard of would include Flask or Dash if you're making more of a UI kind of vibe. But there's a lot of simple Python frameworks that allow you to create small APIs you can send requests to. I won't be going into like everything here, but the important parts are this. The first 2 lines here are where we actually open the, where we actually load in the pickle file that we saved previously. The second part here, we initialize the Fast API app. And then we define 2 routes. So routes are these things you see here at the top of the screen, basically, where this is, github.com/Kyle Gallatin. This will be some host / whatever. So we have /predict and then just a /, which is the base route. The base route here just returns a simple message, but our second route, the actual predict one, will be making predictions. So I defined a model with 3 features. I named them feature 1, 2, and 3. Not that that matters. And in this function here on the route predict, we essentially call the model that we loaded into memory and make a prediction with it. So this is should be pretty straightforward and easy to do. It's a very, very small application, but this is actually extensible to to a lot of different, basically a lot of different workflows. So to test this out right now, hopefully with a working environment, what you can do is quickly clone this. So come here to code. I can copy this, can open up a terminal, make this bigger so everyone can see. I can clone this application, and I can cd into the actual directory itself for the app. Again, a very, very small app. We can check that we have my app, we have the model that I also pushed to GitHub. So these are all steps that you can follow along with. If we have Python properly set up, I can install the requirements. It should set up everything for me. So this is basically scikit-learn, the machine learning libraries we need to run the app. It's the web server and stuff like that. All of the things we need to essentially start and run the application. And then back here in the README, I have a small command for running it. So if we copy and paste this, once these finish installing, I can actually start the application by copying and pasting that command. And we see we started the process on 0.0.0, which is just our current host, and port 5000. So if I go back to Google Chrome, open a new tab, and go to localhost 5000. If this is working correctly, I should be rerouted to my running application. This isn't working too slowly. Apologies, this computer is not set up for what I'm trying to do on it right now.
So Kyle, I think everything goes really fast for people who don't have background on the back end. Probably it's gonna take them 10 times more time to set up like you did. Do you think it's a good idea, like we let 1 or 2 students share their screen to make sure they're following along, test things out, so everyone can have more time in this step?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you think is best. If everyone, like what I've done so far, again, is clone the repo, install the packages, start an application, and then check that it's working locally. Would anyone like to share their screen and show where they're at?
Kyle, can you just mention how you installed the packages? Again, I missed that line of code.
Yep, absolutely. I should share the thing as well, but all I did is I have everything in a requirements file. So I'll share it in the chat. but it's just pip install -r requirements.txt.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
So a tip for you, I always do quick screenshot for things I couldn't remember right away. So if you realize Kyle is typing fast, do screenshot and bring it up on the side, and you know what command he typed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this is also available at my Medium website. I know it's kind of tough to like copy and paste as I go if I'm screen sharing, but on my actual Medium page here, you'll be able to find this same exact thing that shows you how to do this.
So Kyle, how about start with me? My machine is also fresh. I'm setting things up. So I'm
That
gonna
sounds
share
great.
screen. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you let me share screen? I think you're the host.
Oh, okay. Can you share it, or do I have to give you permissions?
You give me permission.
Cool.
Can you guys see my screen now? Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so when Kyle typing, I did a quick screenshot. I didn't see the command he did the first, second lines, but I know it's get clone. So I just did get clone and the link. And I compare my last step, pack reuse done, looks like the same as his screen. So I'm confirmed this step is done. So next, I realized before I run pip, there one more step because he actually CD into the folder. So once you download it, it's on the home directory. So I type cd fastbadml and check whether I have the right file. And he also check where Python is. Okay, I'm using Anaconda Python. Then time to type this command, pip3 install r requirement.txt. I'm guessing this file have all the related package. So
Yep. So that file just contains all of the Python packages that we need.
yeah.
And what I'll try and do from now on actually is I'll basically try and copy and paste my like snippets that I have into the chat so that you should be able to copy and paste them as well. I assume that would probably make it easier for everyone.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So there are a few steps. Get clone. Once it's cloned, you need to get into the folder, check whether the file looks the same, then install. So there are 4 steps here. Give it a try. If you get this part done quickly, then we can confirm and move forward together. So it seems like it's going to take me a while to do it. So Kyle, in the same time, I want to show the requirement file. Let me show it quickly here. So this is the requirement file. It looks like you put 3 package name, right?
Yep, exactly. And I haven't pinned anything to any versions. All we need is scikit-learn and then the API libraries.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about why these 6 files live in this folder? What's the design of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can ignore proc file. That's actually a separate thing. But as we really only need a couple things. Train.ipymb is just the Jupyter notebook that I use to generate a fake model for the purposes of deploying a fake app, essentially. So again, all that is a couple lines of scikit-learn making a fake classification model and outputting a logistic regression that we then save to a pickle.
So how did you generate this file? It looks like an HTML file.
Yeah, that's because it's a Jupyter notebook, so you'd have to open it with Jupyter. If you share it, I mean, I can go through these on the GitHub page as well. Well, they'll be rendered accordingly.
Yep, I'm starting my Jupyter notebook. Okay. This file. This file. Pickle file. Main file. Okay, I have all of them.
Cool.
So let me see on my terminal. How things going? Do I have all the package? It seems like it take me a while to install everything. There is a warning. I probably not. I don't need to be concerned about this.
Yep, you can ignore that.
Okay, so guys, can you please confirm whether you're at the step? All the requirement is installed?
Yeah, I just
Yes.
installed, I did not install scikit-learn since I already had it, but I installed the other two and I was able to navigate to the page that Kyle was on.
Can I get everyone's confirmation you're at the step now? Can you speak up where you're at?
Yes, I'm at the same step.
Cool.
How about the rest of the group? Jonathan, Brian, Wei-Xing, Doug, are you guys following along?
Yeah, I'm at the step. I posted in chat.
Awesome. Brian?
Oh, sorry. I'm still installing the packages, but I'm nearly there.
Okay. Wei-Xing, are you good to go? Jonathan? I'll probably give 1 or 2 more minutes before we move on. Okay,
Sounds good.
great. Looks good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna switch back to you, Kyle, so you can move things along.
Cool.
That would
That
be your
sounds good.
signing board and the validation point.
Great. Awesome. So up until this point, what we've done is, again, you've cloned my repository, which has a small application in it. We've installed the requirements for running that application, and then started a local web server with Python that allows us to basically reach this URL on localhost that prints a simple message. You'll remember this because it's the message that we specified in our application on the base route. So this index page essentially on slash is this message right here. And that's what we use to confirm our app is working. But so far, all we've done is make sure that this is working locally on our machine. So you or anyone else in the world can't actually reach this application. We've confirmed that we can build an application and start it, but we're not yet actually exposing it to the internet or doing anything like that. So the next part of the process is going to be all about how we actually take this and expose it to the internet itself. Is everyone ready to move on to the actual AWS Management Console?
Sorry, Kyle. Can you just go back to your terminal?
Yeah, of course.
So Kyle, how did you bring up this web app? Can you show the step one more time?
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking for, the line in the terminal. Yeah.
Cool. And again, I've sent it in the chat just so that everyone can see it, but it's right here. I'll highlight it. All of these commands should also be in the blog itself. But yeah, I'll try and make sure to paste these as I go. I know I went a little bit fast on that first part.
So Kyle, is this idea similar to like Shiny app? We need to host a server app?
Yeah, functionally, at the core, this is the same universally. You know, don't think of this any differently than if you built a Shiny app or a Flask app. Yeah, if you build a Shiny app, you know, RStudio does this for you. If you build Flask, the command looks a little different, but they're all basically the same. We're starting a, you know, basically a web server, an application on our local machine that we can reach in a web browser or via our Shiny or something like that. They're all very similar.
So the command unicorn app, does that mean, what's the app for?
So the app is just, that's specific to the UVcorn syntax. You could also use Flask here. I think this is because UVcorn like names it app or something like that. I forget actually how the command works. But the rest of this is pretty standard. This is the only command that's specific to UVcorn. Reload means, I believe, just to restart it if it goes down, or well, if you make changes to the file. Reload will just restart the application without you having to run this command again. This port specifies what port we want it available on. So here we did 5,000, so we have to go to localhost :5000. And then host 0.0.0. This is a little bit of a networking thing. But essentially what this means is that you want it to bind to all addresses on your local machine. So this will be important when we want to actually make it available on the internet, as you can't just use the default host of 127.0.0.1 if you want to make it available externally on the internet.
Got it. Kyle, would you mind I share my screen?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, give me the access. Okay, so this is my screen because I previously started IPython notebook. So this terminal is taken. So I start new terminal and run this command, and this is what I get. Would you mind help me to troubleshoot this?
Yeah, did you go into the directory?
Oh, that's why. Okay. What's the shortcut to terminate this?
Control C.
Yes. Okay. So I will go to this terminal and find my old command. Then I will run my old. My keyboard has some issues, so I have to type it instead of just roll back to the old command.
Got it.
Vivian, it's UVcorn, not unicorn.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy paste.
Good idea.
Chat. Where's my chat?
You also have it above in the terminal from a couple of commands ago in that same terminal.
This one?
The other one.
This one?
Yeah, you have it right at the top there.
This bug, right?
No, not the bug, the command.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so I should be able to start this. And local host 500, 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's working.
Cool.
Okay, you can switch back just in case someone else need troubleshooting help.
Cool. Sounds good. Great. So now that we've confirmed that our app works locally, this is usually the first step in most kind of app development. If you're building a machine learning application or something, what you usually do is you make sure that it works locally before you actually try and bring it online on the internet, because it's easier to develop locally. However, once you've confirmed that, oh, look, it's working, I can do this, we're going to go to the, we can go to online. So now I'm going to take everyone to the Aws Management Console. I'll give everyone a second to bring that up.
Okay, Kyle, can you copy paste the web link?
Yep, absolutely. I think this should take you to, yeah, I don't think there's any login specific information here. So this take you to region US East 1. So there's a lot of different services on AWS, and I want to stress that this is not the only way to deploy an application to the internet, even on AWS. You could take this application and deploy it 6 different ways on AWS. When I wrote this blog, the whole point was, this is what I consider to be one of the shortest and hackiest and easiest paths to exposing this application to the internet and hosted for free specifically on AWS. Again, there's other ways to do this, but we're going to start with one of the easiest and most straightforward ways.
Okay, Kyle, I'm going to switch to me so I can show other people how I'm logging.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I click on the link Kyle sent. This is the page I'm looking at. So I'm choosing the root user. And my company has an account called tech@nycdays.substack.com. They ask for my mobile number, and I'm into this page.
Cool.
Okay, so just make sure if you haven't done this before, you're choosing the root user instead of IAM user.
Yes, that will give you the permissions that you need.
That's right. Kyle, do you know what's IAM? Yes, stands for.
Identity access management, I believe. But IAM is essentially how most people manage permissions in the cloud.
So did you ever use both of the login method or just stick with the root user?
It depends. If as part of an organization at Etsy, there's a lot more, role-based access going around, and people are provisioned different IAM roles and permissions. However, as a personal user, I often log in as root because it's just my account. I know what I want to do with it, and I'm not granting access to other additional users.
I see. There was an interesting Kaggle competition about access management.
Really?
Amazon released the data. They have so many employees join every year. They need to quickly approve their access at different level. So there was a competition about how to best give people the permission to access different resources.
Wow, that's super cool.
Okay, are we all good to go? Can you please confirm in chat?
Cool. Good.
Okay.
Sweet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the compute service, the fundamental compute service of AWS. It's called EC2. It's probably one of the most standard services, so much so that it's the first thing you might even see on your page down here. What EC2 lets us do is launch virtual machines from some Amazon, compute data center somewhere in the world. So essentially what this is provisioning you a computer, a virtual machine, just like you might have on your local computer if you've ever used like Docker or something else like that, but we're being provisioned it from somewhere else in the world. And it's available and accessible from the internet, which is why we can access it from this browser and this page. So to start, what we're going to do is type EC2 into the search bar, and you can just click on the first result, which is EC2. And we're going to go to the dashboard. I will also share this link in the chat. And what this dashboard shows us is all of the compute instances that we have. So this is going to show us everything that we've provisioned from a compute perspective. You can see I actually already have one running instance. There's some other stuff here that we're not going to worry about for the time being. But an instance in this case is essentially a running computer somewhere that we can access and use for development, deployment, or whatever else we want. So I've shared the link and you should be able to view this page depending on whether or not you've used it before. You may or may not have instances running. What we're going to do is we're going to click on that instances portion. And that's going to show us everything that we currently have running, which for most of you, again, should be nothing here. I happen to have one instance running from earlier today, but most of you, unless you're using AWS frequently, probably won't see anything else right here. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, if anyone can share a screen, that would be great. I also have a running instance, so you're probably gonna see the same as Kyle's interface. But anyone have a fresh interface to show? Ryan?
I can share.
Sure,
Yeah, I
go
can
ahead.
share.
Okay, nice, nothing.
Yep, nothing.
That's always good.
Awesome, good.
More than one horror story about forgetting that you have something running only to find out in a bill somewhere along the line.
Yes, it happened to us before.
Yes, and that's why today we'll be using a free tier instance, which means that we won't be charged for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by going to this orange button in the upper right that says Launch Instances. And that's going to open up essentially kind of the path forward for how we can create one of these virtual computers. You can do this either via the console, like we're doing today and right now, or you can also do it via the command line. That's a pretty popular way to work as well. Obviously, this is more visually appealing, but depending on how you like to work, you can also use the AWS command line. So the first step for creating one of these instances is choosing an Amazon machine image or an AMI. Now, this basically is, not to overcomplicate it at all, it's literally just a template for the kind of machine that you want to bring up. So an AMI basically tells Amazon what kind of computer that you want. I mean, you can see here, Amazon actually recently added support for Mac OS. If you wanted, you could literally requisition another Mac OS computer in the cloud without spending, $2,000 on whatever the one you have right now. I know this is popular for I think like graphic designers and stuff like that, and other people who actually deploy and run things on Mac OS. But there's a whole bunch of them here. Some of the popular ones, there's a deep learning AMIs. These are essentially machine images or computers that come pre-installed with MXNet, TensorFlow, PyTorch, a bunch of other machine learning libraries that are really, really common. But there's a ton of different machine images that we can choose from. We're going to choose the super, super basic one. It's the first one you're going to see, Amazon Linux 2 AMI, free tier eligible, which means, again, you won't be charged for it. And this is just a standard Linux machine, the most basic virtual machine that you can requisition from Amazon. No need to configure anything. You can just click select.
Kyle, question, which bits you're choosing, 64 bits?
Yep, I'm choosing 64. I believe they're both 64, but I left it with the default. Whoops. But I left it with the default 64-bit x86 architecture.
Perfect.
Yep. The next page is step 2, choose an instance type. And this is where you specify the specs for the machine that you want. So this is heavily dependent on what you want to do, basically. If you wanted to requisition your own machine to say, train a machine learning model that you wanted to run for like 3 days and just leave running on this machine, you could requisition something kind of big. You could start training a model on it. You could shut your computer, let it train, come back, and you'd have that model. So there's all kinds of different instance types they have. Some are optimized for compute. Some are optimized for memory. It depends on what kind of thing that you want to actually be doing in the cloud. But the advantage here, obviously, is that these are all ephemeral, which means that you can, create them and destroy them as needed. And you can essentially get, as much or as little compute as you want for a temporary amount of time. So that's super, super helpful. We're going to stick with the T2 Micro. It's got 1 CPU. It's got 1 GB of memory. It's got low to moderate network performance, but again, it is free. So this is a baseline, super, super standard instance. It's going to be auto-selected in your step 2, and we can actually just click review and launch now. So review and launch is going to bring up us from step 2 all the way to step 7 now. So we're going to be in the review part. We didn't configure any of the additional stuff, and we're not going to worry about that right now, because all of that stuff is a little bit extraneous to what we're trying to do. But this is just going to show us all the information about our machine. It's going to show us kind of everything else that we want to do here. So once you're ready and you're at this step 7, you can click launch. Give everyone a second for that. But what that's going to do is it's going to prompt us to use a key pair. So what this key pair does is this key pair is essentially a set of basically like a password for getting into and out of your instance. If you haven't used this before, you probably don't have one. So what you're going to want to do is go to the dropdown and click create a new key pair. For the key pair name, we can call it whatever. Maybe we'll call it NYC DSA. That's a good name for the key pair for now. And we're going to click download key pair. And you're going to see that you're going to get a file downloaded called nycdsa.pem. And this is essentially the key to get into our instance. So you don't want to lose this. You probably won't be able to view it again after this case. However, you can always create new key pairs if you need them. Are there any questions about this? So now what we're going to do is click launch instance. This is going to do all the fun stuff. It's going to say your instances are now launching. Going to give you some information about connecting to them, et cetera, that kind of stuff. What you can do is click on, you're going to see a phrase that says the following instance launches have been initiated, and then some kind of random sequence of numbers and letters. That is like, the ID of our instance. And we're going to see that starting to come up. So this is actually the instance's dashboard. And if you're lost, again, I'll share this in the chat just so you have it. Oh, sorry, that actually will take you to a different page. So that will break you back to the instances dashboard where every instance that you have running is going to be shown. If you click on that instance, it should already be running if it's a T2 micro. It's going to give us all of the summary and all of the information about this instance itself. So there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff that Amazon is handling behind the scenes. But right now, we essentially have a computer running somewhere in the world. This is, a virtual machine that we can essentially work with and connect with from anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool. It's got the key pair. There's other information about it, etc. But now we can use this for development or deployment or whatever else, which is pretty nice. Any questions about this?
please put in the chat if you're following along till the step.
Cool.
Nice.
That's a lot of yeses. All right. So now we're going to make one small change to this instance. It's something that we could have done in the past step, but I just wanted to get it created so that everyone could view it. But what we want to do right now is we want this to be accessible from the internet. If you go to the instance summary and then look for the public Ipv4 DNS, this is essentially the URL of your instance. So it's given a URL. If you click on that right now, what I'm guessing is it's probably not going to show anything because we're not allowing web traffic to hit this computer. So we have a URL that we can use. You can also, if you bought a domain, you could also do this yourself. But this is essentially a URL that we're given as part of this instance to make it publicly accessible. What we want to do is allow people to actually do that. So if you scroll down here and then click on security, you're going to see a set of inbound rules. What we're going to do is click on the security group right here. So under the tab security, there's a thing called security details, and then there's a security groups URL that you can click on, and it'll take you to another page for security groups. So right now we only have one permissioned entry, and the type is SSH. As you can probably guess, that is not web traffic, which means we cannot actually reach this instance from the web. We're viewing it in the console right now, but we can't reach it from the web. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the inbound rules, which you should be allowed to do as a root user.
How can you slow down a little bit to show one more time? How did you reach this page?
Yep, absolutely. So I went to security groups. So I think, let's start with the beginning. So I went to instances. I clicked on the instance that I just created. I clicked on the security tab on the bottom, and then I clicked on the security group link that this is a part of. So if you click here, this will take you to the security group that is attached to your instance. And then you'll see three things at the bottom: inbound rules, outbound rules, and tags. So what we're going to do now is we're going to edit the inbound rules. There's a button.
One second. I want to make sure everyone is at the inbound rules page. Can you please confirm in the chat? Okay, half of the group has confirmed. Any question?
Yeah, feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions about like what we're doing, why we're doing it, etc. Again, this is we're basically editing the security for a computer that we just created that's virtual and accessible from the internet.
Yes, this is a 2-hour session. We want to make sure everyone is following along. So feel free to ask any question to make sure yourself is benefiting from the session.
Yeah.
Anyone else have question about the step?
Cool. In that case, we'll keep going forward. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add an inbound rule, essentially a way to access the computer. And that's going to give another tab here that we can have a drop down from. And if you scroll down through this drop down, you'll see a bunch of different ways you can access it. Like there's like all kinds of HTTPs, PostgreSQL, and MySQL even. But what we want is we're just going to open this up to the world. We're going to say all traffic. So you can click on and select for your added rule that you want all traffic to be available on this machine, which means that essentially anyone trying to reach this machine with the proper credentials on a certain port or something like that can access the machine. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing as above and add this 0.0.0.0/0. So what this does is essentially that URL that were given for our machine earlier. This means now that we can use that URL to access things deployed on our machine. So instead of just like stuff on your local machine, this computer that's now out there on the internet, you can deploy things on it and other people can reach it. It doesn't have a cool domain name, you'd have to buy your own domain and do that part, but you now have the ability to essentially make your application available on the internet just by selecting this and requisitioning this very small virtual compute instance from Amazon EC2.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between choosing 0.0.0.0 or using under source anywhere?
Or you mean like using any of these other ones?
No, instead of custom. If you click the custom drop down, you can use anywhere. Is there a difference?
Oh, probably not. I forget how this is like I'm so bad. So like these are called CIDR blocks, and they're like a pretty networking specific thing. I usually leave it with the basic defaults. Honestly, I'm not anywhere probably does the exact same thing, but I can't confirm that 100%. I apologize.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but if you want to read up more on them, read up on CIDR blocks. It's like a networking thing, and that like usually is kind of like the allowed IP range and stuff like that. Presumably they're the same, and what that means is anyone from any IP address, as you can see here, this is the source. So anyone from any IP address at all can reach this machine in this way. Cool. Once we're done, we're just going to click Save Rules. And then if you scroll down, you see now you'll have two inbound rules, one for SSH, which is for you as a developer, and one for all traffic, which is for what we use here for web traffic. It's not the only way to do it, but it's the easy, just let anything and everything access our server. So now that we've done that, if you click back on instances, we're essentially good to go. We have an instance. If you click on your instance, it now will have a modified security group. And I actually don't think anything will happen because nothing's deployed if you click on this address, but just in case. But now instead of spinning forever, it'll say the site can't be reached. That's because we don't have a service running, but we can actually try to reach our new website essentially that we've been given by Amazon. So quick recap, we've provisioned a virtual machine from Amazon and we've made it accessible from the public internet, not just via our console, but from the public internet. Anything anyone wants to go over about this?
I'm good.
Cool.
Anyone else?
I'm getting a timeout error instead of that the host cannot be reached.
David, share your screen. We can take a quick look.
Yeah, it's probably fine. We don't have anything deployed yet, but yeah, feel free to share it. We have the time. Whatever, you should be getting an error now. As to what that error is probably up for, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Said unavailable or too busy. Yeah, I assume this probably has to do with your web browser or something like that.
Okay.
but the bottom line is that we have a public instance, but we don't have anything deployed on it. We have no website, no HTML pages. There's nothing actually running there. And that's what this next part is going to be. Cool. So now we have two things. We have our app, which is available in our local terminal. I'm going to clear this. Say I'm going to show what directory I'm in. I'm going to confirm, that I still have all of my application stuff here, but you should be in the fast bad ML directory, the directory that we cloned earlier. And we also have this instance, which is a virtual server somewhere. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to start our application on our instance and make it publicly accessible. So we're going to need to do a couple things here. I'm going to type these in the terminal first, and then I'm going to copy and paste them in the chat. But there's just a couple steps we have to do. The first thing we do is we're going to use the host. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to copy essentially all of the files we have locally right onto our virtual instance somewhere. So they're going to go from our Mac to the new computer that we just requisitioned. And what we're going to use for that, if you go to the instance summary for your instance, is this public IPv4 address. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to a terminal, and we're going to set it as an environment variable so that we can reuse it. And I'll copy and paste this in the chat, but for me, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like export host equals, and then that URL that we just set. So export host, and then the URL. And let me just put that in the chat.
Kyle, do you know how to do this on a PC?
So do you have PuTTY installed?
Probably someplace.
Okay. So it's PuTTY. And what that's going to, and PuTTY is going to basically let you do the same thing through a GUI, or a GUI or whatever.
I think an easy way, you can just open this file, the requirement txt, and just add host equal to this to the end of the file. Essentially, this just write one more line into the txt file, right, Kyle?
Oh no, so this is setting an environment variable. This is not doing the requirements.txt thing. This is a little bit different.
Oh, that's right. You're setting the Python environment variable.
Mm-hmm. We're copying it. Yeah. So yeah, on PC, the equivalent would be the PuTTY application. We can also, because there's a GitHub in this case, I can show you how to git clone it. If PuTTY doesn't work out, what you can also do is we can just clone it directly onto the instance when we get to that part. So if PuTTY's not working, I'll also just show you how to get these files onto there in a separate way once we actually connect to the application itself.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set an environment variable for the key.
Hold on. Kyle, how can we confirm the host is set up correctly?
So you can't yet. Basically all you'll do is replace the part that I copied from mine with the part that you copied from yours. But you just want to make sure that what I have highlighted here matches the public IPv4 DNS address on the page over here. In a second, once we go through another step or two, then we'll be able to confirm that the host address is correct.
Sounds good, thank you.
Cool. And then we're going to set one other environment variable. So this is going to be the path to the key that we downloaded earlier. And again, I apologize to PC users. For me, this is going to be, users/Kyle Gallatin /downloads /nycdsa.pen, I believe. Yeah. And let me copy that in again. But all you'll have to replace if you're on Mac is the username right here. So just simply take what I'm doing and replace your username, the path to the file that we downloaded earlier, and it should work exactly the same. Let me expand this a little bit so it's more visible. Cool. So all these do, these are variables in the terminal. It's the same thing, you know, as a variable in Python. Not important, it just makes it easy to reuse. So like this just saves us from copying and pasting the same thing all over the place. I think if we do, you know, like if I type $host, you'll see it actually prints out the item that we saved in the variable. So this is just a nice way to make sure that we can reuse this stuff easily. But cool. So now we have two things, our host and our key, and we're basically almost ready to copy all of our files over. We have to do one thing, which is change the permissions on our key because they're not going to be there by default. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the permissions on the file. I'm going to copy and paste this in. But this changes the permissions on the file so that we can kind of do whatever we want with them. And then we have the last step, which actually copies them over. So there's nothing to change here, by the way. These commands now, you can just copy and paste directly from me. But you're going to do SCP, which is like a secure copy. We're going to pass in the key file. We're going to say that we want to do this. We want to copy in the whole directory we're in. So what this says is we're going to use our key file for authentication. We want to recursively copy our entire current working directory. That's what pwd will do if you're on Linux or Mac. And then we want to do ec2 user at the host variable we set earlier. And we want to copy it into the home directory. And I'll go through each part of this in 1 second as people have it set up. But so let me actually copy this in, make sure it's running so that you can have this too. But so what this does is, this is saying SCP is the command for copying files from one machine to another. So from our MacBook to our virtual machine. This is saying we want to use our key file, the private key file we downloaded earlier, because we need to authenticate ourselves, and Amazon will check for that. -R is basically the syntax for copying multiple files at one time. pwd is print working directory, and so what I'm doing is saying I want to copy everything in my current working directory, which in this case is the fastbadml directory, since that's the directory that I'm in. And then this is all information about our virtual machine. So EC2 user is just the default user for every Amazon machine that you requisition. Host is the URL that we did earlier. SSH protocol v1 is no longer supported. Let me check that out in a sec. And then this is the path that we want to copy it to. So if you run this, you should be asked if you want to continue connecting. This is the first time you're connecting to this host, and it's going to ask if you want to say yes, no, or whatever else. So what you do is you type yes, and that's going to copy everything in our current directory. A lot of all this hash stuff, that's all Git stuff. And then we have the important things here, which are the requirements, the model.pickle, all of the important files from our GitHub repository, and we just copied them onto our machine. So I'm going to pause there for a minute because we just did like a lot of different stuff. Are you good, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I typed something wrong. Sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah, so you should see that the authenticity of the host can't be established. And you're going to see and it's going to give you an option. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? You're going to type yes. And then for this specific machine, it will never ask you again. It's a first time thing. Whenever you first set it up, it'll always ask you that whenever you connect to a machine via the terminal for the first time. Yeah. But what we did was we just took every file in our current directory and we just copied it right over.
Okay, Kyle, can I share?
Yeah, sure.
So one thing I realized when I'm following along Kyle's steps, my file is called nycdsa.certificate instead of permission. So initially, when I tried to export this file, I keep getting like not find. That's why I went back to search for this file, and I realized, okay, my file is called certificate. So I'm not sure if anyone running into the same problem. Then all the steps can be followed along. Okay, just want to bring this up.
Got it. Nice to be had.
Team, do you want to share your screen so we can all troubleshooting together? You may go ahead. Team, do you have audio? Can you speak up?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this is what my terminal looks like right now. And yeah, okay. And yeah, I just typing the scp command, and this is what I got, and tried twice, all failed.
Cool. Can you scroll up past? I see a lot of these like ting test pem errors.
Yep.
Is that what you named your key file?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, so I did export host and export key here.
Got it. Okay, so that's definitely the correct key. And looks like the correct host. You can share your Amazon screen and we can just check that. But
do you see my screen now? Or...
No, just see that. I think you're just sharing the application, but
oh, okay, I see.
I don't think there could be. It looks like you just copied and pasted it out.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Got it. And then okay, so when you see two user at host.
I don't know, man. I'm back.
So I would assume this would occur if our key file is wrong or something like that. but that obviously looks like the PEM, the proper key that you downloaded. It looks like you just copied and pasted that. What kind of terminal is this? Is this?
This is a, it's called iTerm.
Oh,
maybe I can use the default Mac term.
It shouldn't matter too much. I was just making sure that this wasn't like git bash or something like that.
No, it's not.
Okay, cool. SCP. Can you share your Amazon instance screen?
Yeah. Okay. So let's stop share this one. And then, okay. Do you see my Chrome?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then can you scroll down to security? Click on the security tab. Yep, 22. Got it. Let's scroll back up. What happens if you click connect in the upper right-hand corner? And then click on SSH client, yeah. Yeah, try copying and pasting that.
Okay. I think it's still the same thing happening again, still waiting. And after like half a minute, it just says timeout. Yeah.
Huh. That's a weird issue. I haven't seen that before, especially since Amazon is directly giving you this command. What happens if you go to EC2 instance connect and then click connect?
Connect?
Yep. Got it. So there's a problem with your instance itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting. So if you go back, you go back to that instance itself. Running 2 to 2 health checks, US East 1A. Some of the information that could be problematic here. Because Amazon does have docs for common causes. Oh, sure. Yeah, Amazon does have docs for common causes of connection issues, but it seems like you probably followed everything the same way. Yeah. All traffic. It's ready. Are you on a MacBook? Are you on a MacBook, Ting?
Yes, Mac.
Okay, cool. Maybe try restarting the instance really quick.
Okay.
So there should be, if you click on it,
just
like an
stop it.
Instance state in the upper right.
Stop instance.
Yeah, you can just stop it and then.
Okay, and then connect it.
You're gonna have to restart it again now. So if you go, and if you go back to it,
Mhm.
instance state.
Where do I restart it? By instance state and then
Yep, reboot.
reboot. Okay. Failed to reboot.
Oh. Refresh this page. Okay, instance state. I'll probably have a start. Yeah, okay, click start now. Okay, now give it a little bit of time. Okay, now try connecting again.
Okay.
You can just click the connect button and then click the same first connection as before. Connect, upper right, and anyone else who wants to play around in their instance can also try and connect in the same way. Okay, cool. Looks like, oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Huh.
All right. I think it's okay. Let's just move on.
Well, Ting, you can start a new instant. Take you a minute to set it. I think this instant is no good.
Okay, I'll try that. And well,
You can do it now. We're not in a rush.
okay.
Time to.
So I just
You can terminate this instant.
so
That one. Yeah, you can click actions, or yeah, instant state terminate, doesn't matter. Yeah, sorry, click instant state terminate.
Yep.
Cool, and then click launch instances.
The orange one.
The upper right, sorry.
The upper right orange one. Did you see? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Wow. Your account is having some serious problems.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you guys can go ahead and move ahead.
Okay. Seems like
Yeah, I think it's not
not
our
available.
fault. Maybe like just AWS is messing around. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like that should not happen. But okay, well, apologies, but hopefully this is all recorded and you can easily do this later as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely look that up and see if there's an issue there. That's not a common thing, but yeah. But okay,
All
if you're
right.
done, I'll take
Thank you
the
so
screen.
much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Apologies. Cool. So everyone else, we are either here, if you're on Mac, where we've copied everything over, or on Windows, we haven't done that yet. Apologies to the PC user, but we will also fix that once we're inside the instance. So we kind of just got a preview, but there's two ways to actually start working around in our instance. One, like Ting was doing, is to try and connect through the console. So if you're on PC, what I'd recommend doing is clicking connect. That'll bring you to a connection page, and then you can click connect right here. And if your instance is working properly, you will see a terminal that you can actually connect to. What this is this is actually inside your remote machine. So I know it looks like we're in a browser, but we're not. We're actually inside the remote machine somewhere else in the world. And if you copied things over, then you'll see the things there. The other way to get here is from the terminal. And I'll send this in the chat, but back in our local terminal, you can type SSH-I, $key again, EC2 user at $host. So this is basically the same command as earlier, but we're doing SSH to actually connect and get inside our instance, as opposed to SCP, which copies files. So let me copy this. If I run that, you'll see I see the same thing that I see in the console where I connect. I'll send that here. So you should have been able to connect in one of two ways. And if I type ls for Linux command, we'll see that where we see fastbad ml. Now this will be specific for the one PC user, but what you're going to need.
I'm actually good if
Oh.
no one else. I was able to just unpack the variables.
Oh, cool. Sounds great. I was going to install Git and have you Git clone it in here, but sounds good. Great. So so now what you have is you have all the files that you just that you created, your directory, and we're attached to our instance. So you can do this again, follow along in either way. These are exactly the same, either in the web browser in the console, or in the terminal with the SSH command we just ran. I think honestly kind of like how this looks a little bit because we can flip back and forth. So I'm gonna use the web browser one. But yeah, so now let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is
Kyle, can you slow down? I want to make sure everyone know how to do the step.
yeah, for sure.
How did you open a web browser? Would you mind show one more time?
Yep, of course. I'll actually just close it. So oh man, this is annoying. So what I did was I went to my instances. I'll close this. I went to my running instance here and I clicked on it. And then here's all the information that we saw earlier. And there's a connect button in the upper right for any instance. That will bring you to EC2, instances, the name of your instance, and connect to instance. And then you don't have to do anything other than scroll down and click the orange connect button at the bottom. All of this stuff will be pre-filled for you, including the username. And these are all different ways here that you can connect. EC2 instance connect will open a connection in the browser. And if you click connect, it will open a terminal session in our remote virtual machine, which is somewhere else in the world. And if you were following the earlier steps, then you'll see that we have one thing in the instance, which is all the files that we copied over previously.
So I think I run into similar issue like Ting. I can share screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm on my EC2 connection here. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
While I click on connect.
And the copy command worked. Oh, you have, all right, so.
If I SSH, it works, but
Okay.
the web connection is not working. Also, I checked the service health dashboard. It looks good, nothing broken, but I couldn't open this page at all.
Got it. Okay.
Which is good, as long as we have one way to work.
Yeah.
All it matters, right?
Yep, exactly. And that's kind of the benefit of this approach right now is that we can either do this here or here, but they print the same thing. They're exactly the same thing. Both of them are no longer your local terminal. They're now a terminal somewhere else in your remote virtual machine. But so now we can actually start getting set up to install and deploy our app. So the first thing, we're going to cd into the directory, which I just sent in the chat. And then we're going to do 2 installs. The first thing we're going to do is sudo yum install python 3 because we don't have Python yet and we need Python installed. And that is going to ask us yes or no. We type a little y, click yes, and that will install Python 3. Let me know if anyone wants to see that again. Well, I guess I can now that I've installed it, but essentially you type sudo yum install Python 3, which is the command for installing Python on this Linux machine. you'll type a little yes, because it's going to ask if you want to use this space, and then you'll have Python installed. Sudo lets us operate as root, so that just says we can do whatever we want on this instance. That's just to get around permission errors. Yum is the package manager for certain Linux distributions, commonly CentOS and Red Hat. And then install Python 3 is pretty self-explanatory, but now we should have, you know, Python 3 available to us if we want. Let me know if anyone has any trouble with this step. Cool.
All good.
Sweet. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to do the same thing we did locally, basically. Slightly different way, but we're going to install all of the packages that we need for our app. So send it in the chat, but we're just going to do sudo python 3 pip install requirements.txt. I think you have to install Python pip separately, and that's why I'm accessing pip through python-m instead of just typing pip like you usually do locally. And that's because we currently don't have pip. If we just type pip, you'll probably see command not found, but we can access it through Python.
That's a nice trick to learn.
Yeah. Cool. And so now we're at essentially the last and fun part where we actually start the application. The command here is also in the blog, and it's a little bit different than our local one just because of how the paths are set up. But I'm going to type in the chat first. But it's very, very similar. So what we're doing is just doing sudo. We're typing the path to Ubicorn, which is our app, remember? And then the same arguments as earlier, but with a different port this time. The port doesn't really matter here, but port 80 is the standard web traffic port. So that's the one I just happened to use for this. But if I do that, oh, is that different? Oh, it's because they, shoot, sorry. There's just an issue when I copied it, when I typed it into the chat. Zoom, looks like Zoom, yeah, okay. Let me try and copy it again. Zoom just concatenated the the hyphens into one super hyphen, which is syntactically incorrect. Let's see if this works. There we go. Copy and paste that one instead.
Kyle, what's the update?
Which one? The
the dashboard different?
Is the what?
I tried to compare the two commands you sent in the chat.
Oh, the first one, Zoom took the hyphens and concatenated them into one super hyphen, so the command was incorrect. If you look at like it's one single dash reload as opposed to dash dash reload. The second one is correct.
So the second one, the first dash is escape.
Yeah, the second one, I don't know what happened with the first one, but it was like an autocorrect type thing. I should have copied and pasted it, but because I was live typing it, it autocorrected it to a different type of hyphen.
Got it. I see.
Yeah. But yeah. So now, let me know, does everyone have their application running? Did we see application startup complete? You might also see this issue with scikit-learn. I probably should have pinned it to a version. It's my bad, but sweet. So this is the really, really cool part where like now you have your application running. And remember, this is running on a machine somewhere out there in the world. You're connected to it via the terminal and you're running the application on it. And you're running it on port port 80. So now what you can do, it looks like everyone has it running, is you can go back to your instance page. And this isn't new information, you can get it from anywhere, but if you remember the host name and the public IPv4 DNS that you used earlier, now that we've actually started something on port 80, which is the default, if we click open address, we should, thought it would work. You should be able to connect to your instance. See what issues I'm running into here. It's different. All right, yours is working? Great. I'm running into all kinds of Amazon issues. Ryan, would you mind sharing your link in the chat so we can view your app? Cool. So if you click on Ryan's link, you can see that we can actually access the application he just deployed via the internet. I'm running into, invalid HTTP request received. I wonder what's up with mine. Okay. If you have issues, make sure you use just HTTP instead of HTTPS, since we didn't set up SSL. But yeah, everyone can share their links in the chat if they want. We all have different versions. We all have basically the same app deployed, but in different places. And so now you can see that, yeah, we can all access each other's applications, and they're all accessible from the public internet. So you now have a fast API, UviCorn, whatever, application running on the internet that you can send to literally anyone and have it working. So now what we're going to do, and one thing that I probably should have shown earlier but didn't, is show you how to make predictions. So I think I have it in the fastbadml repository in the README. I have the browser version, cool. So what you're going to do is just append this to the end of your URL. /predicts, and then we're passing in these feature parameters. So what that looks like for me is I'll share mine. Cool. So it's going to be your host and then /predict, which is, remember, in our application, the route we exposed the prediction on for the simple app that takes 3 features and outputs a single binary prediction, logistic regression. And we pass them in via query parameters in the URL itself. So we do feature 1 equals 0, feature 2 equals 1, and feature 3 equals 2. Remember, in this case, it's like a totally fake model that I trained on random data, so it doesn't matter. But this actually prints out our model prediction in a JSON. So now you can reach this from basically anywhere in the world. I'll copy, this here if anyone just doesn't want to copy and paste it. But you can basically use this your own host with this route and these features to get predictions now. Can try different, different features. I wonder if I can actually get it to return. I don't actually know what distribution I even trained this with, so who knows what it returns. If you put in all 3 features as 0, you get 0. But the idea is that you can actually kind of adapt this approach to a real machine learning app and make it available from different places. You can call this to get predictions from Python. If you have this deployed, someone somewhere in the world can use a Python client to actually get predictions from your model for free, since you're hosting it on a free tier instance, and it's a pretty lightweight model, so it doesn't require that much compute. Anyone anywhere in the world with your URL and some knowledge of your features can get predictions from your machine learning model now. And I'm going to show you one last thing real quick, which is kind of fun and important for setting things up remotely. Very, very, very simple Linux thing. I'm going to stop running my application for a second just to show it. But I'm going to do the same command as earlier, but I'm going to do two things to it. One, I'm going to put this term called nohup at the front. What this is going to do is redirect logs. And the other thing I'm going to do is put an ampersand at the end. And I'm going to run the same thing and press enter. Now you'll notice, I'll copy and paste this here. Now you'll notice what nohup says, we're ignoring input and appending to nohup.out. So everything now that was being printed out in the terminal earlier is now being put into a file. If I type ls, there's going to be a new file called nohup.out. And if I cat that, we'll see that I'll type that here too. Everything is being put into that file as opposed to the terminal. Because what the ampersand did and what the ampersand does in Linux is run something in the background. And this is super, super important because now, unlike previously where, you know, if you've ever had a long running process, say in a Jupyter notebook or a Python script, and you leave your computer, like your local laptop running, you might get something like maybe the server disconnects when your computer goes to sleep, maybe something stops. What happens in this case is now this process, this application is running totally detached from our terminal session. It's running in the background as a process. Logs are being written to this nohup file, and we don't have to do anything now. We don't have to leave this open if we want our application running. So what I can do, which is really, really fun here, is I can actually just close this, but I can still access my application via the URL. I can exit the other terminal too. I'm not even logged into Amazon anymore. You know, I could leave Amazon and this will stay up for as long as the application doesn't encounter an error. And now this is literally indefinitely running for free on Amazon because we started it as a background process in a machine that's also perpetually running somewhere else in the world. And so now you don't have to worry about it, you know, going down or doing whatever. It's detached from you can close your computer, come back. This URL will still be there unless the application has an error. And then you can check that nohup.out file to see what error your application run into. But in the event that nothing goes wrong and your AWS instance stays up, you can basically have an application hosted for free that does whatever you want for, you know, an indefinite amount of time.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Perhaps you're going to mention this, but is there a way to download that nohup.out file?
Yeah. So you can always, you can reconnect to the instance if you want. So you can just like connect again and it's always going to be there, right? Like the next time you log in, it's always being written to. So when you open up another terminal session and then cd into fastbadml, you can just cat it again and you can see here are the two logs from the last time that I made requests to it. It's constantly being written to. If you wanted to like copy it locally, you could also use the scp command, something similar to what we did earlier. So what that would look like, and I'll also copy and paste that in the chat, would be scp $host. Is it dash fastbad? Oh yeah. C2 user. And I'll again put this in the chat. I would need the permission denied. I still have the $sign key. You'd also be able to copy it locally. Oh, it's easy. All right. Sorry. Cool. And so you can also do this to copy it down if you don't want to like log into the console and you have the key and the host ready. You can also just copy it down, and then you can see I can cat it here again. And I can see the same thing that I saw when I logged in from the console. So yeah, there's multiple ways to have it. I mean, you could even, if you really wanted to, you could, have the nohub.out file print to another route in your web application so you could see the logs yourself. But there's a ton of different ways to actually view that file.
This is really great. It's really cool to see this. Thank you, Kyle. I actually have to go, so thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on, Ryan. I have a requirement, so please email our marketing staff, Martina Huang. I put her email here. One paragraph about your experience of the session and potential usage for what you learned here today. Our plan is to come up with a alumni study library. We're gonna clean up all the study notes, put it very clean format, and abandon the video. If we can get your feedback, that would be great. Also, I plan to add a few more sessions on the top of that so we can build much more complicated app, such as like visualization recognition on the cloud. If you take a picture of the car and push the photo to your machine learning app, you should be able to tell the brand, the maker, the year of the car. I have seen our student build similar app like this, and I'm sure Kyle have other cool stuff he can show us. I think it's gonna make sense to learn something about the pickle down the road. So I really need your help to give us feedback, give us testimonial to really roll this program out in a larger scale. So if you can take Martina's email and send her a paragraph, that would be super helpful.
Great, will do. Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Cool. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We have another session next Wednesday on NLP. So one of the past alumni, Martin, gonna show her capstone project and step by step. So our approach is not just show you the code. We want to show you how to build a project from 0 to 1. What's the motivation, how to manage the potential paths, and come up with the most solid approach. So hopefully to see you in next Wednesday session too. Sound good?
Thank you so much. This was really informative.
Cool.
Thank
Glad
you
you liked
guys.
it.
Yeah.
Really apologies about the Zoom issues. Thanks for all your help troubleshooting them.
No worries.
Kyle, you're an amazing teacher.
That was
Thanks,
very
David.
helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Feel free to delete your instances when you're done or leave your application up, do you?
Cool. I'm super impressed by everyone's promote follow-up and get this far. I remember when I first teach this class 7 years ago, it took us more than 4 hours to get this done. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think a lot of steps are taken care by the review and launch step. That step takes forever.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many settings you can do, but so many things are just configured nicely by default that yeah, it's a really, really easy way to deploy.
Perfect. Okay, I will see you guys next week, and Kyle, I'll see you later today.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, bye guys.
Excellent.